Praise be to you, Yahuwah my Elohim. Praise be to your Son, Yahushua my Messiah. I come at your feet in the name of your Son. Thank you for the knowledge you pour unto me, and thank you for breaking all the shackle that was bound on my face. Yahuwah, you are the only true living God. Indeed. Thank you for your Yahusha, whom you truly love. You are Elohim, the Elohim of the Yahudim.
Shalom, family. Welcome back to The Remnant Awakens. I'm your brother, Pierre Ligi. If you're tuning in for the first time, or you've been walking with us for a while, I just want to say, I appreciate you. We're here to dig deep, to challenge what we've been taught, and to awaken the remnant. Today, we're going to talk about a brother who's misunderstood by a lot of folks, Shaul, or as most people call him, Paul. So let's get into it. Alright, so who was Shaul? Let's not get it twisted. This brother wasn't just some random guy who popped up out of nowhere. In Philippians chapter 3, verse 5, Shaul says he was circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Yashar'el, of the tribe of Binyamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee. So, he's not some outsider. He's a Hebrew, born and raised, trained up in the strictest way. He knew Torah, he lived Torah, and he was zealous for the faith, even if at first that zeal was kind of misdirected. I mean, he was out here persecuting believers before Yahusha got a hold of him. But the point is, he had credentials. He wasn't a Roman convert or some Greek philosopher. He was one of us. Now, let's be real. There's a lot of people out here saying Shaul was a false teacher. I hear it all the time, especially online. Folks say he changed the law, or he started Christianity, or he taught against Torah. Some even say he was a Roman agent, or that his letters contradict Yahusha. I mean, I get it. If you just read a verse here and there, out of context, it can sound like that. But, like we talked about in previous episodes, context is everything. You gotta look at the whole story, not just cherry pick. And honestly, a lot of these accusations come from misunderstanding his background, his mission, and the culture he was speaking into. Sometimes it's just folks repeating what they heard, not what they studied. So, let's talk about what actually happened to Shaul. Acts chapter 9, verses 3 to 6. This is the road to Damascus moment. Shaul's on his way to persecute believers, right? And then, boom, a light from heaven knocks him down. He hears a voice. Shaul, Shaul, why are you persecuting me? And Shaul's like, who are you, master? The answer comes, I am Yahusha, whom you are persecuting. That's wild, right? Yahusha himself calls him out, blinds him, and then sends him to Ananias to get his sight back. And from that moment, Shaul's whole life flips. He goes from hunting believers to being hunted for the same faith. That's not the story of a man trying to deceive. Nah, that's a man who got humbled and called for a purpose. Here's where people get it twisted. They say Shaul threw out the Torah, but that's not true. If you actually read his letters, he's always quoting Torah, always pointing back to the prophets. He kept the feasts. He circumcised Timothy. He took a Nazarite vow. Like, come on, that's Torah living. He even says in Romans, do we then make void the Torah Through faith? Certainly not. On the contrary, we establish the Torah. That's Romans chapter 3, verse 31, by the way. So, he's not anti-Torah. He's just against using the Torah as a way to boast or to exclude others from the covenant. He's about obedience from the heart, not just empty rituals. And honestly, that lines up with what Yahusha taught. Remember, Yahusha said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." Another thing, Shaul warned about lawlessness, just like Kepha, Peter, and Yahuchanan, John did. He said, "The mystery of lawlessness is already at work." That's in 2 Thessalonians. He warned about false teachers, wolves in sheep's clothing, people twisting his words. Even Peter said, "Some things in Paul's letters are hard to understand, which ignorant and unstable people distort as they do the other scriptures to their own destruction." That's 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 16. So, Shaul wasn't out here preaching lawlessness, Torahlessness. He was warning the remnant to stay alert, to test everything, and to hold fast to the truth. That's the same message we've been talking about in this podcast. Don't get caught up in deception, family. Now, let's talk about Shaul's mission. He wasn't trying to replace Yashar'el or start a new religion. His whole thing was bringing the nations, the Gentiles, into the same covenant. He says in Romans chapter 11, "The wild branches are grafted in, but the root is still Yashar'el." He never said the Torah was done away with, or that the promises to Yashar'el were cancelled. He was all about unity in the covenant, not division. And look at the fruit. He traveled, he suffered, he preached, he built up communities. He didn't get rich, he didn't get power. He got beat up, thrown in jail, shipwrecked. That's not the life of a deceiver, that's the life of a servant. And the fruit of his work? People turning from idols, keeping the commandments, following Yahusha. That's real fruit. If you still got doubts, check out Galatians chapter 1, verse 1. Shaul says, "Paul, an apostle, not from men, nor through man, but through Yahusha Messiah and Yahuwah the Father, who raised him from the dead." He's making it clear. His authority didn't come from a council, or from Rome, or from his own ambition. It came straight from Yahusha, and if you look at his life, you see the evidence. He stood up to Kepha, Peter, when Peter was acting hypocritical. He called out false brothers. He suffered for the truth. He wasn't perfect, none of us are, but he was chosen, and he was faithful to his calling. And honestly, if you read his letters with fresh eyes, you'll see he's not against Torah. He's not against Yahusha. He's for the covenant, for the remnant, for the truth. I know this topic can get heated, and maybe you still got questions. That's cool. Keep searching, keep testing, keep praying. Remember, we are here to awaken the remnant, not to follow tradition or man's opinions. All right, that's all for today, family. Let this be clear. Shaul, Paul, was not a deceiver. He was a Hebrew from Binyamin. He was chosen by Yahusha. He upheld Torah, and he brought the Besorah, gospel, to the nations as prophesied. Stop believing the lies and twisted accusations. Read his words in context. Honor his obedience and endurance. He is part of the foundation of the Remnant Awakens. I'm Pierre Lidji, your brother from the tribe of Yehuda, and this is the Remnant Awakens. If this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this episode so it reaches more people. Subscribe if you're awakening to truth. Comment below what stood out to you the most. And if someone you know believes the lies about Shaul, share this with them. Until next time, Shalom. See you all on the next episode.
Praise be to you, Yahuwah my Elohim. Praise be to your Son, Yahushua my Messiah. I come at your feet in the name of your Son. Thank you for the knowledge you pour unto me, and thank you for breaking all the shackle that was bound on my face. Yahuwah, you are the only true living God. Indeed. Thank you for your Yahusha, whom you truly love. You are Elohim, the Elohim of the Yahweh.